Howdy, my friends and families. Today, I have a talk for you called Lords of Attrition. Why must we remain separated slaves, controlled by our flesh suits, needs, and desires? Why must we remain controlled by the box, or running from those who are, or hiding? By now we've learned that the false self-creator gods, Lucifer or Enki, the evil mind bearer, is a grand central master of attrition. That's right. He was able to take these amazing flesh suits and this amazing, beautiful place and repurpose them for darkness and selfish, evil purpose. Vampirism. And how would he do that? What is attrition? What does that mean? I learned this term 5 years ago when I tragically still watch the Mossad-controlled opposition agent Alex Jones, who told so much truth and then mix in the terror and the fear. We're gonna all burn! We're already burning as long as we obey these narratives. Attrition is where you weaken the enemy from within. I looked it up today again. For over prolonged periods of time, often. And this is what we've seen over and over and over in this fight for our souls for the last up to 1 million years, getting dialed in. You know, the fallen ones of control, learning more and more subtle and overtly violent tactics of attrition of every sort, dialing it in. You see, Jones, he noticed the central skeleton key of that filthy international operation remains the same infected mutation it always was. How did it all begin? Well, eons ago, the adversary, Satan, which is what that word meant in the old T, the morally imbecilic master of psychological intimidation and institutional violence, pulled a most impressive displacement. Wow, man. It's the greatest displacement ever, man. No other amazing magician, has ever been able to achieve such an amazing feat. A monumental role reversal was accomplished through the invasion and conquer of Earth by evil ETs that have successfully convinced and remain able to convince a majority through massive Stockholm syndrome that they are our creators. As if we need off-planet, absentee, ward and junior gods to terrify us into running endless wars and killing each other all the time. Gods over and in control of us. Whatever we are, these essences speaking in these bodies and doing things with these hands. What could be a pure form of attrition than that original black magic trick to convince us that we have to get on our knees, worship, and kill for these amazing masters of trickery? What has What has weakened our species more than the filthy dogma of salvationism and the forcing bloody takeover of our divine home place, like what created this and every other city on the coast of California, through the insane misnomer jihad. Again, who's the master of trickery and torture? Well, they're the ones who can come up with such an idea as that. You know. I've worked so hard to live out my dreams, but most of them were rendered loose extractions if I was codependent or abusive, abrasive, unbalanced, disrespectful. Yet I never quit. Is that masochistic or martyrdom, or, you know, did I hang myself on the cross like so many others? Well, why do I have to hire a manager, editor, or learn to edit and program my own videos and add sexy music and graphics to, you know, or silas to receive more than a tiny fraction of my audience? It's a game theory, you know. I mean, Wi-Fi, electronics. You see, again, the controllers didn't, just like the Demiurge, the original controller, Yaldabaoth, they didn't understand that, as brilliant as they can be with self-replication, electronics, etc., that the wisdom goddess rules, Christ Sophia rules over the age of Aquarius. The free sharing of wisdom through these electronic gadgets is paramount, okay, like it or not. With me, like, it's like, well, do I really care about the numbers or making money? Do I really need to play the game? Why am I still in the campsite after all this voluntary hard work? Was I expecting to make friends with people online or move into a community? Was I expecting to earn money? Was I expecting to expand on a technology that was built by DARPA? I mean, you know, was that a little bit wishful thinking to think I could make I made a few friends in 2D, but they live in all, thousands and hundreds of miles away usually. So in a way, why will this video probably be hidden and not support hundreds of ensouled humans awakening? Prove me wrong. In a way, I have accepted minimization by the enemy. Accepted this role of a janitor, like in that movie. Instead of saying how do you like them apples, However, I never did. Just like him, I was always studying to reclaim my real self. And so, for me, the cliche is actually true. If this really helps one person, it helps me to remember to be myself in a way that is real. Because if I preach or think I'm oneness conscious or aware of the whole of myself, and I just don't share, it's just bullshit. It's an action. It says Natalie Rise sings in her song, "One Love is an action." I have accepted minimization by the enemy, the shills and the censors and front end. I didn't know how to create and fund a video sharing platform myself. I don't have those skills, so I cannot speak about the M.M. on YouTube or say Jews on Odyssey or any of them, or expose Trump's obvious cruelty on Rumble. Every popular accepted route of human organization, or every video streaming platform has its rules, because it has its funders. It's It has its CEOs, its funders, its rules. They can make whatever rules they want. It's their place, So social groups. However, when every popular accepted route of human organization, social groups, legions, in other words, those going back to endless war factions, all uber popular traditions, aside from shamanism, Buddhism, and Taoism, which are the ones I like to share. They were see, they don't want me to say this part. They were all infiltrated, co-opted, or created to siphon and control humans' powerful energy and funnel them into hell on earth's lush farm. It's really obvious. I mean, I'm just trying to remind everyone, or anyone that's any one of you few that devoted lovers of my content, it's a reminder to all those who haven't seen this before. Subscribe or follow me on Odyssey or Rumble or YouTube, and I'll teach you about what's really happening in your mind to a greater degree than a normal person is going to be aware of, And the thing is that it's a red pill. It's the Matrix is in a way a documentary. All of our traditions, all of them have extraction built in with the invaders. Okay? Every tradition, from religions, endless war, the dumping of the Black Plague to the geoengineering, all these years we've seen it. The floods, the intentional flooding of certain regions for certain reasons, the creation of 15-minute cities, trans fat promotions in the 20th century, like 70, 80 years ago. The Zetas, as soon as the Zeta got input in our filthy, the Zeta's inputs to co-create, so to speak, co-opt to the extraction system, our filthy American extraction systems, the fact that fake, poisonous, openly destructive, quote, remedies me dice sins that are promoted are usually very toxic or deadly or highly promoted here, but my talks are hated, feared, or minimized. Well, a lot of the things I'm discussing, like shadow work, a lot of folks don't want to look at their shadow. They don't want to do the work. People, you know why? I mean, salvationism is not just because people were tortured into it. It's because they're lazy, too. People don't want to face the truth. They don't want... It takes a lot of psychological work. Or if I serve the 3D truth too much, delete it. Yeah. If I had become a super uber popular truth lover that told everyone the truth really well, explicitly, and then several years later, YouTube decides, we'll let you back, and they let David Icke go to 19,000 subs, and then deleted him again, and now they're letting Laura E go to 6,000 subs, and it's silly. It's a control thing. It's, who's the master of the numbers? Not me. Maybe that's the missing key. Why do I care to continue after all this? Well, because I love and respect the real future. I love and respect the real, or should I say the actual divine part of anyone listening to this, the actual real part of you, whoever the fuck you are, the actual part, the real part that's not archonic shit. Unlike the media masters, I know I am you, in Lakesh for real, I mean, I did have to die and go to hell. I did have to have 15 broken bones and have the medical professionals, put me back together to become this person. I wasn't this guy before that. So in a way, you could say that the system itself prodded me out of my ass, pulled my head out of my ass, like so many talented, narcissistic young people that think they're going to be rescuers are, to actually serve the whole, at least a little bit, and then have the censor master, the algorithm get to say my fate. Oh, that's why I'm not worried about it, because I want, I remember I think it was Jose Vallejo or Alberto. I think it's Alberto Vallejo or Jose Stevens. One of those PhD Mexican California shamans was talking about fate is fatal. You want to create your own destiny, And so I am you. I know I am you, material and Christ or Spirit, original array of the divine Spirit, not the whole one. I don't care about the money. I dumpster dove for food before I got steady income. I don't care about money, fame, clout, or control. I do this for the future. I do this for the now. I do this to serve the real humanity, the actual, I'm going to start to saying actual, the actual humanity, because real is a movie. For if I am a hypocrite, too much of a hypocrite to change out of my, if I am too much of a hypocrite to change out of my obvious, overt, attritionistic situations where I accept the fake limitations that the deceiver put on me because I believe that part of the archonic voice in my subconscious, the dogma, the filth, the lies, the inversion, the decrepitude of asceticism in the most expensive, sexy looking, beautiful town in the USA. Oh, I'm in the most beautiful town. I only have to walk into a store to get raw milk or ganja. So it's okay to live in a tent. See, that's attrition, okay? It's when you believe some fucking little minuscule part is you because you were, intimidated into it by the forces of economics or warfare. Okay? If I don't change that, it could, that could be a huge thing that could harm me, see? Even if I want to stay in this campsite, if they come with these troops, it's like, well, is that not a masochist way to go on a cross, literally, when this is the name of the freaking town? So no, it's because there's a part of the voice speaking to you that really has already transcended, and it was ironically the medical establishment that helped me to survive, that made me realize that I'm already dead, but I'm still here because of this mission, you see. Because I could have just taken off then. That was pretty torturous, but it's just something in me. It was like, it's not just addiction to life. It's why, I guess the question of why I'm here, besides to play music for people or perform poetry, music, and art, is to share truth. That's what I'm here for, to share healing, truth, awareness. I'm kind of like the little shaman, I would say, in the sense that there's a kind of shaman, I would think, and if we didn't have all these silly MDs and PhDs getting to say who gets the clout and the views or some shit, that was like a psychological shaman, a healer, a natural healer whose focus is on this psychological. I mean, we need to focus. I mean, this is the part of our us that has been completely fucked with in ways we can't even comprehend. So, yeah, we got to focus on this. This is why I've told people a few times that I feel like I've got to become a master of my own psychology as much as possible, because the adversary, Lucifer, is a master of it, creating these fake evil psychological insertions in almost everyone, unless it's some bodhisattva reincarnate or enlightened being, if that exists. So, if you know the story of my attempted 3D body life takedown, the coerced codependency, just the insanity of my life script, I'm not going to go into it here. It's full of stories of attrition, where they try to destroy me from within, and the use of physical infectious diseases to basically, and stuff like cancer, to basically, keep me out of influence, because I'm too busy trying to, I've been too busy trying to heal the flesh suit from the physical effects of empathically taking on the world, and also just in my personal survival in this fucking hell realm matrix. Whenever I have tried to do that, it's kept me into such high levels of stress. I said, just like a normie, I said, even with codependency, I still remain in fucking financial survival mode, and there's no excuse. It's laziness, or archonic possession in some part of my mind. So, I always think about Jerry Garcia's lyric, the storyteller's job is to shed light, not to master, maybe because he was a lazy junkie in that way, but it's hard to practice what we preach, It's easy to say what the problem is, but to actually live in the solution, to live in that peace of pure health consistently. You see, it takes most of us a long ways to get there, to actually live in that peace and that freedom, not to just say we can do it, or to be some kind of coach, or just to point out the problem. Because I knew, I said no way for 3 years. My mom was begging me, because I knew, even though I had a systematic legal reason, I knew it would be a huge social wedge in the capitalist system. Accepting the golden chain psychological country club prison, where I have all the best food, ganja, weather, nature, and ocean views, is probably why I wanted to move back here on a subconscious in the shadow mind. Or move somewhere ugly with no resources and have a legal box, like a lot of other places. It's, you get addicted. I wonder if a lot of people of all stripes are addicted to being human, addicted to surviving, addicted to being in a fucking human farm, because the electronic fence is invisible, although you feel it. You feel it harm you, but it's not. You can't see it. If the controllers were really altruistic and oneness aware, AI could be set up to create a place with ample food systems, organic industry, organic production lines, have almost no slavery, or people could just work when they needed to, or even Michael Tellinger's idea of everyone has to work 3 hours a week. Prisons could be the place for legitimate slavery, paying off their debts. I mean, if this world was really legitimate, like balanced, like made out of, like if we had permaculture everywhere, it'd probably be less than that. You'd have to do some work and labor. But, it's not this bullshit slavery in the real world. I'm starting to begin to imagine what it really is. What's the real world? What's the world before the filthy Anunnaki's farm version? And what's it going to be like after that? What is it? If prisons will be that, and that's if prisons exist at all in the future, maybe just for a little while, the beginning part of the future. Why does Vaknin say why we have no social mobility in the USA? Why does Sam Vaknin say that that's what the statistics say? You know why? Because the social structure of our country is infested with a disgusting parasite that doesn't allow, anything disruptive, if possible. And if it does, it gets infiltrated, right? Eventually, knowing the entire place has been repurposed into a psychological prison or human bad energy extraction device we call a loose farm. Can the awakened collective shut down the filthy extraction system we call the Matrix in 50 years, a century, eventually, in some way? Or do you just have to leave or just focus on your own thing? What they always sell you. Is there any way we could work collectively and not be infiltrated? We have to accept that most of us are currently possessed by archons. Okay, if you can't accept that fact, how are you going to begin to face the rest of it? Like, how are you going to get along with people? Because what's going to happen is, what happens with me is they always insert in bullshit and distractions and get the person to never connect with you if they're good, or if they're evil, or if they're a narcissist, to distract and connect and intermittent reinforcement trauma bond and destroy your sense of trust with other people because you had all these, even a couple of narcissistic relationships, let alone like me for decades, just to rip your trust in what you thought a nice person. Your sense of trust of other people is just destroyed unless you rebuild it. Because as Castaneda said, of course, the Flyers performed the most hideous, stupendous feats. They gave us their minds. They inserted their trashy filth into our minds. And that's what the, killers hear and think is their own thoughts. And, you never hear that in the mainstream media or the forced school system. You never hear the truth about it. To remove the shackles of attrition, it is, of course, key to differentiate between your thoughts and the stream of derogatory filth archons are putting through your head. I might have said it 150 times. I might have said it 502 times. I might say it that many more times. The rapidly escalating epidemic of narcissism is a sign of massive attrition. Because, man, what happens when they get into your group, when you get into your clique, when they get into your revolutionary group or whatever, your marriage, your friend group? How can anyone get along, let alone build a community or anything with a person on the scale of NPD? And this guy, I'm not going to say his name, but he's from a military family. And they convinced him to go on welfare for being insane when he was 18 years old. He never worked a day in his life. And he's an obese 70-year-old man now. And for a brief period of time, I smoked some bowls of weed with him and hung out with him. And one time he told me, we were sitting by the levee smoking a bowl of weed, and he said, you got to teach your people how to recognize them. I was talking about how the devil worshippers infiltrate everywhere. And he said, you got to teach your people how to recognize them. And the irony is his personality is completely taken over by the Archon filthy trash to the point where I haven't been able to to say anything to him in years because all he can do is spew out insults, literally. So the entities who will ruin the quality of the group meetings, I see it again and again. It's a lot easier for them to do it in a place that's really haunted, like Santa Cruz, where they do a lot of black magic blood rituals and Illuminati and sacrifice and make people pay shit tons of money to live. But it's in every Freemasonic town or every corporate town. The integrity and self-respect it'll destroy the integrity and self-respect of its members, or distract, or at least distract, if not get you to fight and have drama and all this stupid shit. Because people don't know. It's not just insane people in a mental institution. Normies don't know that those aren't their thoughts either, you see? It'll destroy the integrity and self-respect every moment it can. How can we have partnerships under this false reality of inversion? It seems that we need an extreme amount of awareness, as I say always. But really sharp discernment and intuition will serve you a ton in awakening from this zombie nightmare. I mean, attrition is just rampant everywhere. It's just, especially in the last half a decade, you can just see things getting so weak inside of people's psyche in particular, whether they took it or not. Stay in your lane, stay lonely, or join a cult. The dark side subconsciously tries to tell all of us all the time. Stay in your lane, stay lonely, or join a cult. Or get married, which can be a cult to the person you're married to. No other moment has made this tactic more obvious to a lot of folks than when I learned this term 5 years ago. We could see the attrition scream in our faces. Look at the fear-based control, the human lives, and businesses destroyed. The implications and results of the international mad scientist experiment has greatly weakened humanity in general everywhere. Mission accomplished. Was it 1,000,000 years of escalating fear-based implied consent, coercion, getting ever subtler and more obvious, repurposing our beautiful place with free will to these horrible multiple choice questions in a matrix, getting more and more obvious as we run the wars. Every single one of us, every time we obey an archonic filth junk thought. With the sick lies of the New Cage movement and narcissists at the helm in nearly every group, there seems to be no sign of this ancient tactic letting up anytime soon. It has had such great results. Like the Hegelian dialectic. Like time is money as a meme. So yeah. Mostly you'll still say all the time, in the timeless now, they're always going to say, I gotta go, I'm late for work. So yeah, Joshua, get to work. Pay your rent or your mom's mortgage and keep making these wonderfully exploratory live streams where you encourage everyone to reject the world, become an antinatalist, and focus solely on exiting the matrix, forced reincarnation, memory wipe system. Never notice anything good here. Conversely, all who got involved with me, who are too scared to watch a single video, or who only block me, y'all are far bigger losers and cowards socially, far as I'm concerned. You'll die. A lot of you will die invested in archonic lies if you don't change. Sure, I have to accept the facts of my illnesses. On some levels, I still have to go into denial. I don't want to admit it, how horrific they are. And that fake identity as a disease is a huge cosmic lie. Perfect for extraction of loose, of course. All the way from sexual misery programming, in the last several decades since that was ramped up, but ever since that began, and in the days of Victorianism or the Bible, the biblical era or whenever it began, when the Anu gods brought their sexual misery to us, of course, this is probably what it was, of course, to the internet. The controllers have used attrition to rule over us, most humans, most embodied human souls, and a continued ancient attrition operation has been running, like remaining in fear or survival mode. Christ Sophia does have the power of clarity, discernment, and gnosis. But unlike the moral coward, spiritually, the heart retards who designed the Matrix, the demiurge, she's not going to try to force you to do anything. You have to bring her back into your hijacked mind. You do have to establish a relating ship with the real divine, but it's within, it's not external. From the heart, where she lives. Yes, we are not like the archons in our original form. They turned us into these shitty ass, selfish, violent scumbags like them. But it's not who we really are. Yes, the usurper fake god is a total attrition master. Yeah. Let's accept that. To begin. And then maybe our friendships and our love affairs will have more integrity when we know what we're dealing with, when we accept the rotten foundation that might try to ruin us socially again, because we know it will. To extract some more of our energy, of course, but those days are numbered. Why? Because of the learning, because of the gnosis, because we are learning as a species. The Hegelian dialectic of constant Trojan horsey scenes and attrition will end, as the beginning is coming soon to a mental theater near you. And I hope you enjoy it when it does. And I hope the peace of the almighty, real, original creator who got buried under these layers of shit that the demiurgos put in the atmosphere and in our subconscious minds can be rekindled and remembered as a temporary ray of the Holy Christ Sophia in a flesh suit known as you. And if you haven't already and you're still watching this, well, hey, why not click on subscribe or follow me on Odyssey or Rumble for even more details in the truth. And of course, in your little campsite, why not create a great one, even in this insane attrition war that keeps on trucking and stealing more from within.